Welcome back, guys, to episode 24 of the Tech Lounge, and I'm joined here by my co-host Kev from Tech Showdown. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. How about you, man? How's your week been?
Really good, man. Really good. I have just been out of control. People have been loving the used parts. Yeah, it's
Yeah, man.
good, man. I've just been getting back into it. I mean, there's a lot of new parts that were had to get done through the backlog, but the backlog's kind of been pushed aside. Mind you, I did show you guys what in the vlog if you guys missed it or you didn't see it. In the vlog I did show the backlog, the new backlog. It just it keeps coming in, but of course I'm like, no, I'm going to dedicate more time to the used price performance stuff. People love it, and we picked up this here, the 290X.
So cheap, man. You
Yeah,
got such a good deal. They're so good now, eh?
yeah. Well, I'm gonna. People are telling me like they're really really hot because I forgot. I think I had a 290 in ages ago, and yeah, it was. I think it was throttling. So I'm
Oh,
gonna be.
they do. The reference ones, they throttle the 290X. They throttle horrendously. Make sure you know about the switch on the side, right? So if the switch is pointing towards the fan, that's in Uber mode, and the fan speed will go up to, I don't know, like 40%. But if you have the switch facing away from the fan, that will be silent mode, and the fan will stay at 20%, and then you'll see some throttling. Then it'll
What
be
about
quiet.
a? Well, what about an accelero on there?
That'll do good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll fix the problem.
Well, that's what I was
But
hoping.
yeah, no, they were absolutely shockers. I mean, they would sit at 95 degrees for um, forever. So yeah,
So we
but not degrees.
yeah, also launched a new kind of series, and you put out a new filler out there, a PC house call. People loved it. I mean, I was just like at the spare of the moment. I was like, my friend's like, dude, like let's have some beers, pizza. I was like, yeah, dude, I haven't seen you for a long time, and he's like, yeah, yeah, and then he's like, dude, I saw you on YouTube, and it was like, just came over. He's like, bring the camera. I'm like, film. He's like, yeah. So we just made this series, and people loved it. So I'm gonna see what other friends on the Gold Coast need their PCs tuned, and see what performance we can get before and after. Because the the gains were legit. Like we saw that, especially in Elder Scrolls Online, that was huge. It was like 25% performance. So James did nothing, and he's getting 25% more performance. So
Hmm.
Overwatch was the same deal. It was a big jump. So yeah, I mean, and we had just a lot of fun. So that was really cool. That was probably some of the most fun I've ever had, in terms of doing like tech and sort of I don't know, just drinking with friends, and it was really cool. So house call's definitely going to be continued. Um, it was epic. It was a good time. Beers. Whoever thought beers and overclocking would be so much fun? Just don't try it with LN2. I could imagine some guy out there like, "Hey Brian, I got a bit drunk and LN2 overclocking, and now I got no fingers." it's like,
Yeah, I know, right?
it's like, damn man, I feel sorry for you. So, but what about you? What's been going on, dude?
Just a sec, Brian. I'm just wondering the fact that we only have three people watching and it's not showing up on. You made the. This is a public, right?
Yeah, it's public. It usually is public, dude. I don't know why it wouldn't be. I've got no idea. YouTube might be doing something. YouTube's been crazy lately, so I
Yeah,
know.
we'll carry on because people watch it on the afterwards anyway.
Yeah, on the
So
archives. I mean, the bottom line
on
is
the
though.
archives,
Well,
yeah.
the sad thing is that apparently lately YouTube has not been giving people notifications. So
Oh, yes, it's just
it's
shocking sometimes.
yeah, it's all over the place at the moment. I really don't understand it. Even now, like I've got my live, like I put episode 24, so I don't know why it's streaming with the title episode 21. Like I made sure that was all fine to go before.
It's fine on my end. It's
Okay.
saying the Tech Lounge 24.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It's
okay.
fine. It's just for some reason it won't come up on the main page, which is
YouTube, what are you doing to us? So yeah, I mean, I've heard like a lot of stories about YouTube lately. Like, just yeah, I mean, I've been feeling it as well, right? We've all been feeling it, even in the tech scene. Dropped views, dropped revenue, dropped everything. It's like I don't even know what's going on with YouTube at the moment. But I'm just gonna keep making content. Doesn't matter. Ride the
it's all
storm.
you can do, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry for well, I mean, it's hurting the smaller channels a lot more than the bigger ones, but yeah, it's still pretty not ideal. But I think it will turn around kind of soon.
Well,
I wouldn't imagine it would stay.
Hope it would. Hope
like
it would.
this.
Yeah, hope it will. So
But yeah, I've just been getting through more Ryzen content, been making the most amount of AMD videos ever. Did one of my videos is very popular, the 1500X versus 7700, the
Yep.
non-K, so core-to-core comparison. That did quite well. But yeah, people liked it. Good to see Wendell retweeting that video. So thanks, Wendell, such a great guy. And
is that
yeah,
is that Wendell or Windle?
Wendell, isn't it? That's how we would say it here. WEN.
Yeah, bro.
Wen.
In New Zealand, an E becomes an I, doesn't it? Windle.
Meaning the best country.
I'm just.
So yeah,
dick, man, don't worry.
but yeah, no. So that was pretty. That was pretty good and quite an interesting comparison, core to core. There isn't really that much in it, considering the huge price difference between them as well. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, it's strange, eh? Still not.
Yeah. How did you go, dude? How did you go with the How'd you go with that showdown? I haven't seen it yet. So what was the verdict, kind of thing?
It's the 7700 wins even in productivity, but they're pretty close together. With the 1500X at stock, there's quite a decent discrepancy, but once the 1500X is overclocked and I managed to get 4 gigahertz out of it, which seems to be the standard. I mean, I've tested like 6-7 Ryzen CPUs now, and the most I've ever gotten out of any of them is 4 gigahertz. I can never seem to get 4.1. But yeah, at 4 gigahertz 1500X, it brings them very close together. The 7700 still wins by like maybe 5-6 FPS on average, but
yeah, but it's a lot more expensive,
close.
right? Yeah,
it's a lot more expensive. So that's what I was saying. You know, you're much better off with the 1500X, or by that the 1400. But the 1400 I've tested won't go over 3.8. It's interesting. These lower ones I've been testing now, they seem to not overclock as good, which is maybe what people were saying from the start, that as Ryzen goes on, you'll start to see a bigger and bigger discrepancy in terms of how far you can overclock from the higher end like X models and the lower non-X models.
Okay. I mean, I've got to do a lot more testing with that. I've just been, busy with sort of, a lot of people want to see the used stuff. People are like, look, dude, I'm over Ryzen. We know what it's got to like. I mean, the thing is with Ryzen, when we saw the 8 cores, we kind of knew how the 6 cores and 4 cores would perform. I mean, it wasn't going to be like worlds apart, right? They were all going to overclock pretty similar levels. You just, that's the thing. I guess after I do all the 8 cores, I've still got to do the multiplayer benchmark showdown and stuff like that. I will be doing that again with the 6 core. But as for the 4 core, I mean, it's kind of like, the 4 core is going to be good. And especially when we do that, I think if we do a 4 core comparison, I'll only use like a mid-range graphics card for that. As opposed with the 6 core and the 8 core, where I'll be using a 1080 Ti to sort of show all the massive differences. But for the average gamer, who likes high graphics settings, it's not going to be much of a difference at all. It's not really going to matter. And you'd probably want to save your money and go Ryzen. But there is that element that I do really I do focus on, and that's competitive gaming. So like a lot of my friends are competitive gamers. We all met back in the day because we were competitive gamers on Brood War and CS, not CSGO, but CS 1.6. And that's sort of like an element that I always carry, because I know there's a lot of people out there that play these games on a different level, and they love playing them as best as they can. So I'm going to cater towards that audience as well, because I love it. And I love watching esports as well, man. I love some of this talent coming up, man. These guys are incredible. They can do some, like, you see them on the keyboard, man, 200 plus APM. They're just going nuts. So, and they're not, it's not fake APM when you're playing SC2, bro, and you're just banging keys to get your APM up. It's
bro,
like,
my APM ain't fake. That stuff's happening,
Kev's
man,
a fake,
so fast, you just can't.
Yeah, Steve will write in the
man.
comments too, dude. Steve will attest to this as well. When we're playing 3 vs 3, Kev's got fake APM. He's a faker.
Bro,
So-
you just don't know how to play Zerg, man. Like, my APM's just crazy because I'm doing like, 4-5 base thing, crazy economy.
Bro,
Bring it to the late game, bro. Bring it to the late game.
just-
Lots of fun.
You're faking that APM, bro. It's like really, it's about 80 APM. So,
Oh man, I've never seen mine that low. Like it might be, it usually is about like 150 something, so it's actually not that high. Not like you're making it out like it's like 300 and all
Yeah.
this like fake spamming all the time. But
Okay, so
yeah.
we're gonna move on to this first benchmark, man. We got this first benchmark here. Apparently, a leaked, is it TimeSpy? A TimeSpy run with the Vega graphics card, and the score is really bad. Like, let's be honest here, this is really bad. I mean, I don't know if it's someone faking it. We would just hope it is. I mean, it could be someone with a, was it the Fury X, right? It could be someone with the Fury X maybe, and they may be faking it for views. But if this is Vega,
Yeah,
this is looking,
sure.
this is just looking terrible. Like,
Yeah, it's not. That's not ideal. I know you guys. So in the actual picture there, it says the graphics score, which the guy kindly highlighted, says 5,721. Now, many of you probably don't know what that translates to. So to give you an idea, a GTX 1080 on average, depending on which model you have, and of course if you OC it, but let's say you have just a non-overclock GTX 1080, like what I have, a G1 Gaming 1080, that will be about 7,000. So that's already quite a bit higher than that apparent Vega. If you have something like a 1080 Ti, you'll be hovering about 10,000 to
yeah.
11,000.
Well,
if you've got a good model.
I tested mine out of the box before. Like, I just ran it as my overclocks. Like, I put in the 1080 Ti Founders because I'm testing the Aorus on another rig for the showdown, and it scores like 10k out of the box without doing anything. So, damn, you know what I mean? Like 1080 Ti and 1080 are just soaring ahead. I mean, keep in mind, again, it's only 1200 megahertz. I'd hope it would go higher, but this is the thing. This is a bigger piece of silicon. It's bigger than the RX 480, or now the RX 580 and the RX 570. It's going to be a new piece of silicon too. So you can't expect it to clock, I guess, a lot higher than 1200 megahertz. I mean, could you expect it to clock a lot higher than 1200? I'm saying about 1300 cap out at. That'd be a guesstimate. I mean, what would you...
Yeah, you would hope so. I mean, this is... Yeah, this really isn't ideal. I mean, it would be a huge letdown if Vega comes out and it cannot beat the 1080, because that's kind of... It needs to... For me, anyways, I think it really needs to at least go toe-to-toe with the GTX 1080. The 1080 Ti, yeah, that's not so much the concern, I don't think, because that's sort of out in its own league, but it's also out in its own sort of price bracket. So I would say that, yeah, this isn't looking ideal. And it was something I was weary about because of the huge clock speed difference. Now that's not the end of the world, remember, because we have a good example is the GTX 1060 versus, let's say, the RX 580 now. There's a big discrepancy there in terms of clock speed. A lot of people have 1060s going up to 2000 megahertz, over 2000 megahertz. And yet many of the RX 580s, for example, even overclocked, will be pushing maybe 1500 megahertz. So you got a full like 500 megahertz difference there in speed, and yet in a lot of tests you'll find that the RX 580 will win. So it's not all about that. I think a lot of people tend to just see the clock speed and think like, oh wow, well that's, you know, Ryzen versus Kaby Lake's another perfect example. I mean, it does count, but it's not like the be all end all like some people seem to think it is. Just like kind of core counts, sort of the same thing. So yeah, this is interesting. I would hope though that it would be a bit high. 1200 in this day and age does seem a little bit low down. If it was something like 1500, I think most people would be fairly happy with that. But again, it depends how it's been designed. But this is a very low score, a lot lower than what I think a lot of us would have hoped for.
1200 megahertz. I mean, the memory probably could be doubled effectively. And it just depends on how they're specing that. So 1.4 on the HBM2. I mean, but the core clock, 1200 megahertz is low. I mean, of course, you've got 8 gigabytes of VRAM there. And so that's why I think number of cards is 1. So it couldn't be a Fury X because it's got 8 gigabytes of VRAM on it. So this could be legit. Like, it very well could be legit. And
It could also be the smaller Vega. You know how there's going to be the two types. There'll be the full bore chip, and there'll be the cut down one to go against the 1070. And this could be the one that's going against the
yeah, but
1070.
even then, a 1070 is still knocking it out of the water from memory.
The 1070 will do about 6,000, I thought. So that would
I
be
thought six and
about
a half. I thought 6.8. If you know, they're pretty aggressive, man. So I mean, this is again, it's one benchmark. We shouldn't be basing it all this, but this was like where so much hype was coming into this Vega, and also, you know, we were at an AMD event quite recently, and you know, they were really good. Like the event was awesome. I'm gonna make a separate vlog and video about that, but yeah, it's kind of like I was the whole time I was like, where's Vega? And they're like, oh, we gotta be secretive about it. Where's Vega? I just kept asking, you know, like, where's Vega? Where's Vega? Hopefully I could, you know, sneak some information out, but I'm hoping this isn't a case of AMD doing a 180 where now their CPUs are really good and their GPUs are falling behind by a lot, because it was the opposite a couple of years ago. Their GPUs were really good, really competitive, and their CPUs were behind by a lot. So I'd like to see them. I'd like to see Vega get a lot better. I mean, like as it stands, like if this comes out in the wild and it's just, you know, it's a thermal nightmare and it's just thermal throttling, like they just can't get those cores under control, which might be a possibility considering how many shaders there are and how big that piece of silicon is.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a thing. I just did some quick research then. You are right. It seems to be like if you have a kind of lower clocked 1070 at stock speed, you'll get about 6,000. But people overclocking them seem to get them up to about 6,500. Some people that went real crazy got them up to about 6,700. So yeah, if this is the one, the cut down version meant to go against the 1070, if that's in stock form and a reference model, then that will be competitive with a 1070 once you think that when it's got good drivers, there's good non-reference models with higher speeds, you should see that go up. So if that's the case, then this isn't bad news. But if this is the full board chip, then oh boy.
Well, the thing is, they're putting HBM2 on it. That's not cheap. This is the thing. You know, it's going to be competitive against the 1070, but if they're putting HBM2 on there, they're putting all those stream. This isn't cheap to make. It's not like AMD can be like, hey guys, we're going to sell these things at $200 and just kill the market. They're going to be losing a heap of money. At the end of the day, they got shareholders who want to make profit on the dividends or whatever, or they want the company to grow. They got to be profitable, and that's the thing. It comes from competition and releasing a competitive product. I don't know how this is going to perform in the real world. But this score here is really not looking good. So that's what we wanted to point out. I mean, wow, I was really sort of shocked when I saw that score. And of course, compared it to my 1080 Ti score. And then the 1080's just, even the 1070's beating this at the moment. So, yeah, I mean, looking forward to more developments in this story and how it performs. But of course, people like, you know, I read an article on WCCF Tech where they were like, oh, the core clock's low, a mere 1200 megahertz. It's like, no, considering the 580, which is a refresh, that's been out in the wild for a while. The silicon's matured. That's really hitting 1.4 something gigahertz. It's not that far-fetched that this thing wouldn't go that much higher than 1200 megahertz. Like, it'd probably go 1300. I mean, yeah, so it is a bit worrying.
And that's not the end of the world, though. I mean, ideally we would want it higher, but if it can, like going back to my RX 580 example, I mean, it's not the end of the world.
It is, bro. It is the end of the world.
Okay, maybe it is then.
Bro, Jar Jar, he's going to take off. If this happens, if this card releases at these speeds, with this performance, Jar Jar's going to be taking off his red robe and putting on a green robe. He's going to be converting to a Jedi. So anyway, on that note, Galax have released their Hall of Fame, or KFA2, I guess they're the same company. We've got the Hall of Fame here. I'm really digging this side LCD display. That looks so awesome.
Yeah, it's
tells
cool.
you the GPU,
Yeah,
mem clocks. I've always been a fan of the all white cards. I mean, they recently released this Sniper EXOC. That card was looking awesome. I mean, some people were like, damn, I hate the look of it. I was like, damn, it looks awesome. It was so clean. It was just so clean. This looks a little bit more fancy with like curves and stuff, and I'm kind of not a big fan of the curves and the fancy veal side styling. if you ever remember veal side body kits, they were just out there, man. Like they were just too much for your car.
Yeah.
But some people loved it. I was always a fan of the clean body kits, you know, like this clean, smooth, no extra dimples and dents and no speed bumps. But this one, yeah, I mean, it looks good. Of course, it's going to perform so damn well. You got a 12 plus 3-phase power design. This thing's going to be absolutely huge.
Yeah, triple eight pins.
Yeah, triple eight
Yeah.
pins. So whoever needs to take their,
Good grief.
whoever needs to take it to the next level can. So
Yeah.
yeah, essentially. And then we got Microsoft. Do you want to add anything on the KFA too? Or do you like it?
No, that looks cool. Did you show the backplate? That looked quite nice as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and the HoF
that's
backplate.
like
Yeah. So essentially, this
Yeah.
is going to be one of the fastest. I think the fastest GTX 1080 Ti clocked out of the factory. I think. So it's not just looks. It's not just they're adding all this gimmick stuff on here. Even people who want the fastest 1080 Ti out the box can get one of these things, and they will just be, you know, performing really damn fast out of the factory. So
Yeah, it's looking like a 1683 boost clock from the factory, which is pretty high. I think that Aorus Extreme is a bit higher from.
I thought I read 17. I thought. Oh, another.
I'm just looking at the bottom of the page.
Yeah, they got
then.
the specifications. Yeah, I
1683.
thought it had an overclock mode going into the 1700s somewhere. So, oh well, yeah. I mean, the Aorus is just a beast, and we'll talk a little bit about that later in the Q&A, because we've got another story here. Microsoft trademarks direct physics. So, you know, this is a great article from WCCF Tech. Like, is this a new physics API for DirectX 12? Now, we know what Microsoft have been wanting to do for a while. They've been wanting to make they already proved it by making DX12 proprietary on Windows 10. So I guess now they want to make some more incentives and bring in an exclusive API or exclusive feature for the DirectX 12 API, and that's physics. So they actually purchased Havok, I believe, off Intel. And Havok's a huge engine. Like, it goes in a lot of games. So Havok's really huge. So they want to, I guess, make a proprietary physics API for DirectX 12. So, and then, you know, with that, they can say, oh, play on DirectX 12 because you're going to get a better experience. And, of course, play on Windows 10 DirectX 12. So, so it's actually a little bit concerning. I mean, personally, do you play any games in DirectX 12? And if so, why? And what game?
No, because none of them in my testing have done better in DX12 than they have in DirectX 11. So I would just leave it at DirectX 11. When that starts to change, which I'm sure it will, then I would trend towards it. But no, there's no real reason, because unlike with the AMD cards, with the people that would play games like Doom, for example, you would actually see that benefit of turning on Vulkan rather than using the Doom's a sort of special snowflake of a game, but instead of using OpenGL.
It's not special. I mean, the thing is, though, that's what I was going to say.
Well,
like,
no, DirectX is pretty a bit different.
I know.
Only OpenGL and Vulkan.
I know that. I know. Okay, but like, this is the thing. Yeah. With Doom, it was the only game that I knew had Vulkan, and I played it on Vulkan. As opposed to there's so many games with DX12 support, and I don't play any of them on DX12.
Well, it's because there is a good benefit, though. If you have an AMD card and you play it on OpenGL and then you switch to Vulkan, you actually do see a sort of good performance increase. Whereas I don't think with the NVIDIA cards you see it as much. So I'm not sure how many people actually do play it with NVIDIA cards in Vulkan. I think most of them just would play it in OpenGL. But yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that. But that's more my reasoning is that you can actually see the benefit. Whereas DirectX 12 versus DirectX 11 right now, you sort of it only seems to make things go backwards for a lot of people. So they're not really seeing the point.
Yeah.
Maybe on lower end systems it's different, because I can only talk about using a high end system. So maybe if people on the lower systems, I mean, I know I said about how I thought game mode was pointless, but then some people messaged me saying, hey, I have a mid-tier system and it's been fantastic for me. So maybe it does actually help the people out with mid-level systems.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. Like Windows 10 Creators Update, I'm still going to update to that soon. I'm just getting a heap of videos done, and then I will be updating because I've heard they've released some updates to make it more stable now. Yeah, I've heard that as well. It makes a difference on the lower spec systems, and of course,
Yeah.
that's where you would want the gains and games.
Yeah.
So that's where you'd want the gains because obviously, you know, like the higher or the higher spec your system is, the less resources an OS is going to take up anyhow. So I guess it's a double whammy for people on low spec systems. If you've got, you know, OS overhead there and you've got more of it, then it's going to eat into your performance. Not only that, you're going to get things like stuttering, this, that. It's just really, you know, a terrible idea to have a system that has a huge OS overhead as opposed to something like Creators Update, which if it could make a difference, and it is making a difference from what I hear, then it would be great to use that feature, the game mode. So, of course, I'm going to get into it, do a whole optimization guide for it so we can get the best performance out of it. Stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, Microsoft, yeah, DX12. They're going proprietary, baby. They're like, look, we're going to implement a physics engine, and you can use it, but you got to be on Windows 10 DX12. So, yeah, hopefully they... Of course, there is one game, sorry, that I do use DX12 on, and that's Ashes of Singularity, but it's only for a benchmark. Doesn't really count. Does anyone actually play that game, like, for fun?
I was just about to ask you that. Does anyone actually... Everyone I talk to is just like, oh, yeah, I just use it for a benchmark. What?
Yeah.
Have you actually tried playing it? Is it just a really bad game or something?
I tried, and I just quit instantly.
Why? Is it just what's wrong with it?
It's just like...
The control or something?
I was just like, I don't know, yeah, it's like, I can't get into this, hey. Like, it just wasn't for me, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like one of those nights out on the town where, you know, things happen and you're like, oh, I can't do this.
You can't do Cheryl.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. All right, so we got up. Next here, we've got the latest AMD Ryzen chipset, so good news. So basically, they've implemented some updates, and we spoke to them me and Steve, we spoke to them at the AMD event. And they were really forthcoming with what they've got planned for Ryzen. They said there's a huge update in the works that's coming that's actually going to bring performance improvements. I believe it's going to be the system on chip voltage improvement, because what I've found, like especially when I did my overclocking tutorial as well, I only had one 1800X at the time, or 79. Anyway, when I did my tutorial, I just set the system on chip voltage to level 2, load line calibration, and I didn't have any problems. Though since then I did test a 1700, and that actually needed to go to like 1.045, 1.05 volts, somewhere around there, in order to be stable with the exact same gear, you know? So it was like, wow, okay, system on chip voltage makes a big difference for some CPUs on the Ryzen lineup. So I think what they'll do in a BIOS update is they'll just up the automatic system on chip voltage to maybe 1.05 or something like that, or 1.1 maybe. And then a lot of people will be able to get higher memory overclocks and probably higher stability out of 3.9, even 4 gigahertz overclocks. But on my 1800X, it really didn't make a difference. I was like, wow, okay, so I must have a good system on chip portion that doesn't need to be overvolted. So I missed that out. I did add it to the description on my overclocking tutorial. But that's probably I don't even know. We're going off topic here, but AMD do have updates in place, and they are coming out, and they are going to fine tune Ryzen and get the performance right on the money. And I guess this is another thing here, the power plans. With the chipset update, they've introduced a new power plan that is essentially Ryzen balanced. So you can still get the power savings like you could in the just the balance mode, except of course you've got your cores not being parked, and with that, the latency, you know, when they come out of the core parking state, there's less latency or whatever. Like, so basically they're making it so that it's just more responsive, it's more ready to go like high performance mode, except you get some of the power savings there. And so they pulled up some benchmarks here, and that's one thing I liked about the presentation too when we were in Sydney. AMD now, their marketing team, I think, is starting to get things right. They're not hiding anything now, and this is what I love about these graphs here. They're not hiding anything. They're just saying, okay, high performance mode still does give you overall better performance, but we've still got the power savings in the Ryzen balance plan. And when we were at the presentation, they were saying, look, our CPUs don't beat Intel at everything. But overall, they're very disruptive, and they do an excellent job. And they're so good for the money. And that's what I liked. Their marketing team's getting it right now. There's no need to sort of, inflate everything and bloat everything. Just put it out there and say, this is the best we could do for you guys. And here it is. And people already love AMD anyways. A lot of guys that love AMD. But I think their marketing team is really starting to get better. Like, it's really good. When we went to this event, I was really impressed. I was like, damn, these guys are really cool. And this is another thing. Like, they're getting it right. Like, this power balance plan is it's just a graph that just says, hey, high performance mode's still a little bit better, still edging it out. But of course, you get those power savings in the Ryzen balance mode. So, really cool to see that. Mafia 3 is really bizarre, though.
It's always so. Why does the performance go up by 0.5% in balance when everything else goes down? But I mean, on average, it being down 0.4%, that's not really that. That's pretty good if it's going to have better power savings. I mean, it is just, as Brian said, reducing the delay when switching between the power states, but and when it parks cores. So yeah, I think this is pretty good. But all of them, if you don't understand the graph, all of them, this is compared to the balanced, the default balance plan that you get with Windows, which it runs automatically unless you've gone in and changed it. So regardless of if you run the Ryzen balanced or the high performance, you will see 5 to 5.4% gains, which is definitely good. So if you're running a Ryzen CPU, definitely go into your power plan and set it to either one of those, because you just want to. Why wouldn't you? You're not going to get any better power efficiency, I don't think. If AMD's done a good job with this balance plan, it should be very good.
I mean, the Mafia 3 thing, of course, there'll be a little bit of variance in there, of course.
That's a weird game.
Not every benchmark's going to be 100% same apples to apples. So there we go. So that's pretty cool. I like it. Like, average versus balance. So you guys want to get on that. If you've got a Ryzen chip, just whack it in high performance mode. If you've got the chipset update, you can whack it in Ryzen balance mode. So awesome update there. And now onto the Coffee Lake making its way into the news. Coffee Lake. So this is the 6-core. It's going to be coming this year. I'm getting pretty hyped about this one, because this will be the new architectural improvement, yeah? Coffee Lake.
No, Cannon Lake will be. Coffee Lake is still the 14 nanometer. Cannon Lake drops down to the 10.
But aren't they making like a new architectural improvement? Like I mean, they're node shrinking on Cannon, whatever, 10 nanometer, but isn't this meant to be like the Sandy Bridge to Narlum sort of thing, or the Haswell was to Ivy? It's like we're kind of getting a change up in the architecture. Or we're just getting the same thing. Just like, so they're just re-releasing a CPU twice, because Cabby Lake was just like Skylake. It was the exact same thing, except just boosted up the core clocks.
Yeah, I think there will be a bit of change here. I think the main thing is going to be the core difference between them. If the new i7s will all be 6 cores by comparison to previously always being quad cores, so that might be how they do it. That all the i5s, you'll be able to get an i5 quad core with hyper-threading, and then with the i7s, you'll be able to get a 6-core with hyper-threading, and obviously 6-core with no hyper-threading. So that could be an interesting situation to see. I mean, they're saying in the article that it would be a i5 that would be the 6-core, 6-thread, maybe. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, it's got 9 megabytes of level 3 cache. Or cache. I like saying cache. Come on, man.
Cache.
Money. Level 3 money. So it's got 9 megabytes of that on board. Interesting designs. I mean, the i7 will probably have 12 megabytes, because they usually have, sort of, the i5 usually has a portion of that cache chopped off. So it's like,
it's still really, when you think that, the 1500X is what, 16?
It's kind of like the pimp's paying his girls a bit more with the i5 lineup, so he's giving a bit more cash away. As opposed to the i7, he's keeping it all. So is that a good analogy? Oh,
I'm not so sure, but this would be cool though. Hopefully, I mean, people have been complaining for years now, but it's now really come to a head with people saying, well, Intel's been on this quad core bandwagon since Sandy Bridge, and they need to start making 6 cores. Not making them, because obviously we had that with the higher level ones, but within that lineup, that sort of core gaming lineup that they would usually have, that the whatever it is, the 8700K, I suppose you would say, will be a 6 core or hexa-core, as opposed to being a quad core like normal. And I think that in of itself, even if we don't have any major changes otherwise, would maybe pull some people over, given, depending on the price points it's coming in at and the performance. But if you think a 6 core, say, like a 6 core Kaby Lake with hyperthreading and can overclock to 4.9 gigahertz, I mean, imagine the power there.
If it had the latest architectural improvements. This is the thing that's always bugged me about X99 lately. It's always been one step behind the mainstream chips. And it's annoying because a lot of people still want to go for those 4 cores because they overclock better, they've got better IPC. With a 6 core hitting the mainstream, that would be really hard hitting if you get architectural improvements. I think that's the main point for Intel to hit here. Is Coffee Lake going to have a legitimate IPC improvement? If there is no IPC improvement, then I think this thing's going to be left in the dust. No one's going to care about it. So it's really, I think they have to get that IPC improvement. If they do hit that with a 6 core on the mainstream, I think they'll have a really nice chip on their hands. Of course, how much are they going to charge for it? I'd guess about $400.
Yeah. But you'd hope they would be. Yeah,
I think the selling point is they really need that IPC improvement if they want to compete with AMD's chips. I mean, the 7700K is still kind of competitive in that it's, still the gaming chip to get or whatever. But if they want to actually be competitive on sort of everything, have a chip, because Ryzen's currently doing that gaming productivity hybrid so well. I think if Intel want to do it so well, they've got to hit this chip right, the 8th gen chip. And in order to do that, they need those IPC gains to really set them apart. Of course, they're going to have their chipset naming in the 370 as well. That's going to be so confusing. I mean,
so you've got now
a Z370 chipset. It's like there's an X370. I could only imagine.
It'll
okay, imagine the guy going to the store and he's like bought an AMD CPU and he's like, oh, there's an X370 board and a Z370. I'm gonna get the Z370. He gets it home. He's like, what the fuck? Pin on pin contact. What is this?
But even worse will be the higher platform. If you think the next Intel for the big boy chips will be the X299, right? But then AMD's already announced that they'll be bringing out these crazy Ryzen 16 cores and stuff, and that will be on the X399 platform for them. So what happens to Intel after that? Are they going to copy it? So then we'd have 2 lots of X399, so AMD X399 and Intel X399. How confusing would that be? Yeah. Unless they're just going to skip over that. But then you see, like, the other thing to note is the socket. If they're saying it's going to be LGA 1151 again, it's like, okay. And the other thing I would really like to see is the thermal interface material upgraded. That if they don't do that again, people are just going to explode. If the 8000 series is just high temps again.
That'll be interesting. I mean, because I'm getting sick of delidding chips. I mean, it's annoying because a lot of people don't want to delid chips, especially if they're enthusiast overclockers, because they want that solder there. I mean, even the new guys that come in with their all-in-one coolers want to be able to get relatively the max overclock they can. And unfortunately on Kaby Lake, you generally have to delid. And in my case, I think I got like an extra 200 megahertz stable. And that's huge. Like, that is actually pretty big for delidding a chip. Not only that, for longevity, you want to keep your chip cool. So hopefully they don't put paste on there again. I mean, hopefully they've learned their lesson by now. But hey, I guess sometimes they don't care. But I mean, their desktop, like speaking of that, we got the financial results up here. We had the financial results up here. Okay, they're kind of up again. Okay, so their revenue has dropped on the desktop market. Like their revenue's up. Like we go down to the figures here, their revenue's actually up 8%, but it's due to like the memory division and a lot of other divisions within Intel. They're actually
that is only Q1 as well. I would expect that there to be more of a discrepancy between Q1 and Q2 results.
Oh, it's not just that. We're talking about comparing Q1 versus Q1 2016. So they're comparing apples to apples, really. Yeah. And in the same time last year, I mean, they're down 7% on the desktop sales and volume. So that's pretty crazy. So desktops have dropped for Intel, and it's no surprise. So.
Yeah, they're making all their money. Not all of it. That's sort of a bit ridiculous. But they're making a lot of their money with the server CPUs. People don't really understand that's where a lot of their revenue comes from. Is them having such a good grip on the server CPU market, and all the Xeons and stuff. So that's something that I think a lot of people just overestimate, and that's why Naples will be so important for AMD. If they can start catching that market from Intel's really going to feel the bite. Then they are going to feel it with Ryzen, with the desktops, but those server CPUs are where they'll be really worried. That's where AMD needs to focus now. If Naples is really good, then Intel will feel the bite a lot more there, I would imagine.
Yeah. All right, man. So I just had to turn Skype on D&D. Steve was messaging me. I'm like, dude, I'm live streaming here.
What's up? Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's okay now. Sorry. Okay, so Intel. Sorry, I missed up that because I was turning my Skype on D&D, but Intel obviously have to get back in the game. I think, like not get back in the game. Obviously, they are in the game big time. They're the big boy, but I think in terms of being competitive, they have to get back into it. And it's their like AMD sort of like dealt their hand in poker, and it's like, your turn to either get a better hand or fold. So we'll see how that goes. On some other news here, we've got the GT 1030 being announced from a video. Little card with a little bit of balls on it. So it's a little card, got some little bit of power in there. 80 USD retail, so that'll be the launch price. But you can probably see this thing go down to 70. I mean, maybe even possibly $60. That would be incredible for just a little card that people, I guess, playing CSGO, League of Legends, all those little games, and they want new parts. And they just want to play these real easy to play titles, or even something for, I guess, maybe 4K movies, or just something really little. I guess this card would fit that purpose. Of course, if you are dropping it in a gaming PC, of course, you always should be going for those mid-range cards if you can afford them. For double the money, you get like an RX 570 now, or a GTX 1060. That'd be the cards that definitely hit up if you can. But if you can't, and all you want to do is you're like, hey, all I like doing is playing CSGO, all I like doing is playing these easy-to-play games, and they're very popular, then why not? Like, I don't really see a problem with this graphics card. I'm sure when it's released, you may see channels saying, completely useless card, don't buy it, completely useless, and then, I'm sure it won't be a popular card, but I could see it hitting a price point for some people who just don't need the extra power, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, you're distracted by the I Date Asia ad on the stream.
I don't even know, because I bought a flight to Taiwan. I'm guessing it's surely that. Guys, I like, look, after my ex-wife, after my ex-wife, guys, I'm done like dating Asian women. I'm sorry. I guess it's this website. Oh god, all right, let's zoom that in a bit and get rid of that. That's pretty sad, eh? What the hell, videocards.com. No, it's not me. Like, it's not me, because there's two of these ads coming up. These guys are like pushing this stuff on their website.
Been on that site before? Like, they don't have the cookies.
I've never been on iDate. I don't even know about this website, dude. Hey, you're dating. Your girlfriend's Asian, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Chinese.
you sent me the link. So you sent me the link with the cookies embedded. I'm blaming you
Oh,
for this one. You
yeah.
looking for a new one on the side, bro?
No, that's what I have Steve for. Uh,
Ah, Jesus.
but, yeah, well,
Okay.
but yeah, the difference between these two is quite interesting. The 550 and 1030. So it's actually going to be the 1030. They're saying is actually only going to have a 30-watt TDP, which is kind of crazy, versus the 50-watt. I mean, this is just in response to the 550. They're pretty much the same otherwise, well, similar in terms of their specs, in terms of TMUs and ROPS. Interesting thing to note, though, they'll be coming in both a 2 and 4 gig model, which is quite interesting that these little, very entry-level graphics cards will have 4 gigabyte models. Even more interesting is the memory bus. The 1030 will only have a 64-bit memory bus compared to the 128 you get on the 550. I don't know why you would want to get a 4 gigabyte model of these little guards. To me, anyways, I feel like
Oh
it would be
yeah,
completely wasted. You would
yeah,
just go with the 2 gig. These are
yeah.
just supposed to be get you in the door, get you WoF integrated. And for that, I'm sure they'll do quite well. But
Yeah,
yeah,
play your
as Brian was
games.
saying,
Yeah, play your
you're,
games on your cheap monitor. Like if you got a cheap 1080p monitor, you can pick them up very cheap for like $100. I mean, one of these cards would go well with that, especially with a G4560, man. Like, wow, you know what I mean? Like the value there. You can pick up something really cheap. Like maybe even do something like that on the channel, just a brand new CS:GO potato. You know what I mean? Like because I'm sure there'd be a lot of people out there that just want to build a really cheap PC for playing CS:GO because it's a hugely
oh yeah,
popular game, incredibly popular game. I think a lot of people
yeah,
don't realize, like especially people like I don't play CS:GO religiously, but everyone I know plays CS:GO. Like literally everyone I know is like CS:GO, man, CS:GO, CS:GO. It's all I hear about. So it's a very popular title, and I think something like
yeah.
this would be perfect for it. It runs on potatoes. So, and you want potato with warranty, then you could make something for maybe $300 even. So,
Yeah. I mean, it would be very solid. Yeah. So I definitely, I mean, when we talk about value for money, it's as Brian was talking about earlier, which is a very good point, is the fact that you can go uh, as you go up, that you are spending more money, but the extra performance you're getting makes it worth it up till about you reach that mid level, and then it starts becoming more diminishing returns after that. So once you get to the RX 570, 580 level on AMD, and obviously the GTX 1060 level on NVIDIA, those are the very good ones, and that's where you'll basically get the optimum performance per dollar. So your money will go the furthest in terms of the amount of performance you get. Obviously, 1070s, 1080s, 1080 Ti's get more performance, but the value for how much extra you have to spend goes down. So that's why we always say if you can, when if you're doing a value for money rig, try get one of those GPUs because they'll take you the furthest, especially if you're doing 1080p gaming, something like the RX 570, which I've just finished testing. Just a superb graphics card, absolutely superb. So yeah.
yeah. All right, man. So I had another article on Coffee Late. We'll close that down. I guess no one wants to talk about Intel. So the Triton 700, the gaming laptop. I checked this out. Have you checked this out?
Yeah, I watched the video.
Man,
Yeah,
it looks good. Apparently, they're dropping either a new SKU of the 1080 in there, or they're dropping a 1080 Ti in there, and that actually looks like it looks solid. Like it looks sleek. It looks like it's not going to be as big as the really big laptops. And I mean, this is what I guess a gaming laptop should more or less be. Hopefully, it's not really heavy, but yeah, I really this thing looks really good. And there's like a hands-on video as well, so it's sort of like laptop size, and it's just got incredible amounts of power. I think this one looks like it'll be a hit if people want to get into that gaming laptop market. I don't see the point of putting two GPUs in a laptop. I mean, I recently reviewed the MSI, and like it was the two power bricks, two GPUs, and it was just too heavy.
Yeah, they're just not really meant. I think you're just supposed to plop them on your desk or something and then just leave them there. They're not really meant to be taken around all the time. But yeah, weight-wise, hopefully it comes in at something standard for a gaming laptop. Like they all seem to hover around 3 kgs, I think is a good amount.
Yeah, hopefully it's more portable, I guess. That's the point I want to raise.
Yeah. No, it looks solid though. It doesn't look too bulky either, like some of those big ones that people have been testing lately.
Well, you're the laptop guru, man. Yeah, give us some more insight on this. This is probably your...
Yeah, I mean,
right down Kev's alley.
The funny thing is, when I started doing my channel, I never actually liked laptops at all, and then I started doing laptop reviews, and then all these people were like, bro, you're one of the best laptop reviewers on YouTube, and I was like, how on earth is that possible? I've never really done this before, and I just kept doing them ever since. But I mean, I do enjoy doing them. They're very they're probably one of the most time-consuming videos I do, but yeah, they're pretty fun. But yeah, that what I usually look for in a good gaming laptop, obviously weight is one thing. If you're having to carry this thing around work or uni and stuff, you know, you don't want it to be breaking your back or your arm if you're carrying it in a suitcase. It looks quite thin. That's quite good as well to see. Not too thick. I usually like to think of it as the like a triangle, and you get to pick two. So you get either like it'll be noisy, or it'll get good temps, or it'll be like size. So you get to pick two. So if you want good temps and it to be thin, it's going to be really noisy. And if you want it to be very quiet but very thin, then it'll run really hot. And so there's always a compromise there. But the compromises are getting less and less now that all the CPUs and GPUs in them are getting more and more power efficient. TDPs aren't as crazy and stuff. So yeah, that's always a good thing to see. The screens on laptops have been getting better as well, because some of the gaming laptops I tested like maybe 18 months ago to 2 years ago, a lot of them had very bad frame times. There's a lot of what's it called on the screen? Oh, I've gone blank. The term, you know it, Brian, when you're playing a game and it's like you could still see the last tiny bit of the last frame it displayed. Ghosting, is it?
That's ghosting. Yeah.
Ghosting. Ghosting. Yeah, that was an issue with a lot of the gaming laptops I tested last year.
Okay.
I saw on some of them that there was ghosting issues, so that was something I didn't really like to see.
The MSI one was really good like that. Didn't have it like hardly, like I didn't notice any ghosting on that laptop they released with 120 hertz screen. So that was really good.
Oh, you wouldn't on that, surely. No. Wouldn't go. That would be a shocker.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
but yeah, some of the more the standard, not those super high end ones. I mean the more
mid range,
$2,000 New Zealand price point, where you're just getting a 1080p 60 hertz TN panel, and that could be an issue. Not on all, and there's plenty of them that were pretty good. But yeah, that's what I like to see also. But yeah, we don't have much information on that one, so we have to see, and I'll probably check it out when it comes out.
All right, so we're going to move over to Q&A now. Join the forums if you guys haven't. You can techcity.tv/forums, sign up, and I'll be making a new thread for next week, so episode 25 next week, so I'll have the thread up there. You guys can ask questions anytime you want. We've got here the first question from the Night Cyric. He said, is it worth buying a hybrid kit from EVGA and strapping it to a 1080 Ti? He's planning on buying the Founders Edition 1080 Ti from EVGA, and of course it is cheaper. It's like £700 versus the Aorus Extreme, for example, which is £800. You know, in America, I'd say go for the Aorus Extreme, right? It's only an extra 50 USD. Even in Australia, it's 100 AUD, but £100 is a lot of extra headway, or it's a lot of overlay for that. That, you know, the extra power target essentially. So I guess what he wants to ask is it worth it? And it's really only worth it on the Founders if you're going to do the shunt mod, and that's essentially where you are tricking the GPU into thinking it's getting a lower power draw, and it essentially gives it more power headroom. Of course, if you really, I'd just say go with the Aorus Extreme if that's the case. It's got a 150% power target out of the box. So you would want to maybe just go with that, because you know shunt mods do carry risk. It's not all risk free, right? So yeah. So
Yeah.
that'd be my recommendation there, of course. You could just go with the Founders Edition and just be happy with the 120% power target as well. I mean, 700 pounds, just call it a day, and then wait for that. I mean, because the Founders Edition cooler is really not that bad either. So I'm just a big fan of the Aorus Extreme out of the box. It is a beast of a card.
Oh,
So-
that was excellent when I tested it. I loved it. What a
Gigabyte,
fantastic graphics card.
Gigabyte still haven't gotten back to me. I've asked them twice now. I'm like, look, can you find out if the non-extreme has the 150% power target? I've asked them 2 times now, and they haven't gotten back to me. It's like, ugh, I might even just call them up today and be like, look, because got people asking me, does it have that power target too? Because if it doesn't, then of course that Aorus Extreme's price is even more justified then. Because then people can
I don't think it, to the best of my knowledge, from when I was investigating the differences between the two models of Aorus 1080 Ti's, I don't think there's any changes in terms of any of that sort of stuff and components and that. So I would assume it wouldn't. They would both have it, but that's only an assumption. But I would be very surprised if it was only at 120%.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's from my. Yeah.
Ross, I'm waiting on you to get back to me, dude. So, so what do you think about the 1080 SLI instead of a single 1080? Nah, I'd rather go a single 1080 and just save your money. That would be my recommendation. So yeah, with an all-in-one slapping a cooler on it, it's fun, it's cool. You can get slightly higher overclocks, but on the 1080 Ti, the biggest limit is that power target. So you can either get an Aorus Extreme with 150%, or you can shunt mod your card. So it's up to you. Personally, I'd just go with the Aorus Extreme. That's just be my choice. So yeah, next question we got here was, do you think Ryzen 3 will bring out another, or do you think you will bring out another cookie cutter build with Ryzen 3? Because parts in South Africa are extremely expensive, and I want to get the best value for money. Definitely, yeah, we'll be bringing out some really cool budget builds hitting the channel. I don't know when, because, so many videos to do, so little time. So,
there's going to be a bit of a while, I think, until
Yeah.
Ryzen 3 comes out anyway. But I think a lot of people will be doing Ryzen 3 budget builds around the Ryzen 3 1100 CPU, which looks like it's going to be just crazy value for a 4-core, 4-thread little CPU. So, yeah, but they're still a while away from what I know. They're not going to be up for a bit. So, yeah, guys will have to wait.
Yeah. So yeah, there will be builds hitting the channel for sure. So,
Yeah.
Okay, he's only running 8 gigabytes. So Johnny asked, he was confused. Yep, sorry, I was confused too. We're all confused. Episode 23 questions. That wasn't there.
Yeah.
So he's only running 8 gigabytes right now. Would you guys recommend buying another 8 gigabyte 2400 megahertz kit and overclocking it to 2666? Or just buying an 8 gigabytes 2666 memory kit and don't overclock it? Assuming I want to keep the original RAM and add another. Yeah, I'd just go with 4x4. That would be my recommendation. You've already got 2x4 sticks there. Just run it 4x4. And 2666 should be obtainable. I don't imagine you wouldn't be able to get that overclock. So, yeah.
I'd agree with that.
I just go 4x4. So, any chance of doing a segment where you sort of critique builds sent in specifically for that segment? Yeah, I mean, hot use setups. I did announce that was coming. I mean, I just started doing the house call series, and I'm looking to do more series. Hot use setups is definitely on the cards. I'm looking to do something like that. I mean, I know the viewers love it. I'm looking to sort of make some breathe some new life into the channel. I think just start some new series. That's definitely on the cards. So, what about you, Kev? You looking to do some new series, breathe some new life into the channel?
Well, the channel sort of found its own life lately anyways. It's been going crazy. The growth has been phenomenal, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's good.
I got so much tech to get through anyway, so I got so much stuff. We're going to be busy for the next few months, guys. We got so much CPUs and everything out, and GPUs probably to get through.
Yeah, for sure, man. So there's lots of work on the plate. We'll go ahead to the next question. Is there any way to raise the voltage limit past the standard 120%, so the power limit, that programs like Precision and Afterburner cap you at with a 1080 Ti without modding the hardware of the card itself? At the moment, I mean, not that I really. So there's the shunt mod. That's the shunt mod's for, specifically to get past that limit. Of course, the only other way I know is to buy an Aorus Extreme, which that's why I said in my review, when I was overclocking both cards, that Aorus was going to like 140%, like in games. So it was utilizing that extra power target. That's why it was beneficial. That's why I liked the Aorus Extreme over the other 10, over the Founders Edition. It's just simply like it can overclock higher and then utilize that extra power draw. Other than that, I mean, you might be able to get a custom BIOS. I didn't even know, because you'd have to get a custom BIOS made up for that specific card, and then there's the chances that it won't even work. I find lately custom BIOSes have really been finicky. They really haven't been working properly. So,
Yeah.
can you do a video comparing the QH8G with the ASRock Mobo versus the Ryzen R5 1500X? Okay, he wants a very specific comparison here. Gaming, video editing, pros and cons of each other. I'm deciding between the two for a build. One thing, I'm still testing the 1700. Then I'm going to move on to the 1600. Honestly, I like the R5 1600. I think it's a much better buy than the 1500X. I mean, I know Steve was like saying the 1500X. I love the 1600. I just pay that extra little bit of money and get that 1600. You got 2 more cores, 4 more threads. Really, for me, it's like that would be where it's at. So
It depends, I guess, on the user though. Like for you and someone like me, of course we would want that 6-core for the render times and everything else. But if you're just a pure gamer, I don't think that there isn't much difference. So
yeah.
you would be better off with the. I think that's what maybe Steve was trying to say, is that in gaming the difference is so negligible that you may as well just save your money. But if you're doing productivity stuff as well, then yeah, you will notice that difference there.
Yeah, so kind of got lots of stuff going on soon. Lots of stuff going down soon. We better get to the end of this one. So yeah, I mean, I'll look into it, man. Like, people requesting vids, guys. I got so much on my plate. I'll try and do what I can. Can't guarantee anything. Of course, we've got the patron. Like, that's the thing. We've got the patron set up. Like, I do have a goal there. If I do get a certain amount of money, we're bringing someone on to edit videos and help. You know what I mean? So it's something that, that'll okay. Here 404. I don't really know what's going on there, but yeah, we've got the Patreon account. Put the link in the description below. If you guys want to see more content, it's I'm, as a one-man band, I'm very limited in how much content I can produce. So yeah, of course, I'm going to be. I really want to get someone else on to help out edit videos and stuff, and so with that would come all these more comparisons and everything. Just the yes man will be back on camera more. So yeah, from Demogomic Gaming, he shares our concerns. He's waiting so long for Vega to produce the GPUs. Yeah, I mean, these are just legit concerns, right? AMD is taking so long to produce Vega. And again, that's limitations of their company, right? They don't have a lot of R&D, and we spoke about this in the past. AMD are limited in what they can do and the amount of money they have. So what you're seeing here is a limitation, and it's starting to show with Vega being released so late in the cycle. And will it even be competitive? Nvidia just grabbing the ball and running with it. So it's crazy. So
it's not so. I mean, there's gonna be stuff behind the scenes that we don't know.
Yeah,
there's more reasoning to this than. It's not as simplistic as a lot of people think it is. There will be big things going on behind the scenes which we do not know, which is causing that delay.
Yeah. I got a last question here, Brian. Totally off topic. No, nothing's really totally off topic. I mean, but is Akihabara a good place for retro game hunting? I'm going to Tokyo this autumn. Any recommendations for the shops I should go to? Have either of you been scammed on eBay or other sites? What's the worst experience you've had? Okay, so the first question, Akihabara is amazing. Like, there's retro game hunting there. There's everything there. I mean, there's that Super Potato. I'm pretty sure every retro hunter knows about Super Potato, but there's a lot of other stores. I'd recommend even renting a car and going outside of the city and just getting a navigation system and typing in hard off. All the other ones, hard off outside the cities, so good for retro hunting. There's so many cheap games. My brother used to do it all the time when he came over, and I'd just be tagging along and looking at all the PC parts. And so yeah, retro hunting's huge in Japan. Like, you can get really good deals. it is a lot of fun. I just say in Tokyo though, the prices, of course, they know what that stuff is worth in Tokyo, so you're generally going to be paying market value for it. As opposed to being scammed on eBay and other sites, yeah, I've been hosed before. I've been hosed on all sorts of auction sites. AliExpress, I'm yet to be hosed on Ali. You know, I've heard people getting hosed on Ali, but I'm yet to be hosed, and I've bought quite a few things off there. eBay, I've been hosed, yeah, with some voice recorder thing ages ago when I was learning Japanese. I got like, just like 2005, I got hosed on this little voice recorder thing that sort of translated Japanese or whatever. It was just misadvertised, and I got hosed. I've been hosed on a motherboard. I've been hosed on a CPU. I got hosed on Gumtree for a graphics card. Completely hosed, man. Guy met me at a gas station, and yeah, just said, "Oh yeah, the card works and everything." Brought it back home, and once the drivers loaded up, the card bricked itself. So something really wrong with that card. So that was the R9 280. So yeah, I've been hosed quite a bit. How about you, Kev?
Oh, I haven't. I mean, I don't buy much used tech, but when I have, I've always had good experiences. Even when I bought things that were people were honest about, but they were maybe like when I bought the R9 290 that was used for Bitcoin mining, and that was a reference 290 as well. And that thing was fine, even though it had a hard life. But yeah, Akihabara. When I was there, it's so cool, man. Like that's just such a cool place to be. Even though I wasn't really going there to buy retro games or buy PC hardware, I was just going there to be a tourist. It's so cool. It's just such a fun, bustling, busy place, and there's so much to do, so many stores to go into. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. Did you like being there? Is it? You enjoy the sort of atmosphere of Akihabara?
Akihabara is always fun to go to. I wouldn't want to live there. No way. Way too hectic.
No, you wouldn't want. It's so busy.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. So, yeah, man. Anyway, I got to pull the pin short on the live, guys. Sorry about that. I will have to get going. So, I will talk to you guys, and thanks for Kev for coming on. Link to his channel will be in the description below. So we'll catch you guys next week for episode 25 of the Tech Lounge, and hope you all had fun. Any closing words, Kev?
Hi guys, just thanks for tuning in, and catch us next week.
All right, see you guys next time. Peace out for now.